What is up, guys? I'm going to show you guys how to replicate this color grade from Dunkirk. I know the image that I'm working on looks a little scary. If you want to follow along, I will have a link in the description box below where you can go and download this footage. So I'm going to go to timeline because this is where I have my ODT from RE. Let me show you. I have it from RE Wide Gamma to Rec 709. We're going to go back to clip, and over here, I'm going to add my IDT. Drag it on your CST, and then this is a red camera, so I'm just gonna do red color 3 and red gamma 3 to RE wide gamma, and then your image is gonna look like that. Next is VDL, so this is the base. I have a still image of a black and white because I want to get the contrast relatively the same. Obviously they are different scenes. The images aren't identical, so your contrast isn't going to be identical, which is okay. We're gonna use waveform for this, and I'm gonna start off with offset, and I'm gonna bring up my whole image to the center. Okay, then I'm going to get my highlights to where it's at. My midtones, honestly, the midtones are at like 400, so we're gonna bring those down to 4, and then we're gonna bring down our lift to where they're at. Just make sure not to have your lifts all the way past 0, because then you're crushing your image and that never looks nice. So you always want it pretty close to 0 or 1, but never past. So then your contrast looks like this. Now I'm gonna move to waveform, parade, and we're gonna switch to, I'm gonna start off with my gamma. So we're working in the color wheels, and the whole image is a very limey green yellow type of look. Like, that's what I get at. The highlights are very yellow with a slight hint of lime, and everything else is blue and green. Cyan and green, sorry. So I'm gonna put my gamma to that center, and you see this line? We're just gonna follow it just slightly one click up. Nothing too crazy. And then for my gain, it is a very, again, yellow. We're gonna go back and fix the gain, the highlights later on in the grade, but for the base, we're gonna follow that. Not too orange, because again, it's not that orange. And then the lift, I've always said I do my highlights and my shadows opposite, just because it's more cinematic, it's more cleaner and more nicer. Luckily, that's the case for this grade as well. So since our highlights were yellow, we're gonna make our shadows green. And we're gonna do very smooth. If we do it too harsh, it's not gonna look weird. I mean, it's gonna look weird. Maybe have some cyan in it, so it's gonna look like this. Beautiful. So I'm gonna keep my offset like in this radius. So we're gonna have it like that. We're starting off somewhere. Next, we're gonna do curves, and this is just so I can get the highlights relatively the same. Again, it is a different shot, so it's not gonna be exact, but we still want to get similar, right? So I'm gonna turn on edible splines. It's already on. You could have it off and just manually do it, but I don't like the choppiness of that, so I like to turn on edible splines for this reason. And I'm gonna bring down my highlights about to like the 3rd line, and then I'm gonna do something like this to this 3rd block in, and I am gonna bring up my shadows just 1 block up, and then have my shadows out 1 block or 2.5. Sorry. And it should look like this. It's not too bright, not too dark. Dude, I remember in the beginning when I first started making videos, people would get upset because I would do exactly this. Okay, exactly that. And people would get upset because of this extra node. I'm gonna label this one Q1, and then this is just going to be for my skin tone. Skin tones is actually something pretty easy to do. I'm gonna use AI Magic Mask instead of using qualifiers, because if you're using qualifiers, then you're gonna use a window, and if you don't use a window, it's gonna pretty much grab everything that is relatively the same color as the skin. So that's why I like to use AI Magic Mask. I'm gonna turn on node cache before I start, just so it's not giving me a pain in the ass when doing it. So I'm gonna click this shadow square thingamajigger, and it's gonna gray it out or make it to log, I guess. And then I'm gonna click this here. See some over here, so we're gonna put one right here. I'm gonna turn this off, turn on H. Now I'm gonna go over here to the scopes and we're gonna go to vector scope. I love to have 2x zoom on. I'm blind, I really can't see. I do wear glasses when I grade, but still, I like to keep it on so it's kind of bigger. And then the show skin indicator. I'm using my gamma for the skin tones, and we're just gonna kind of follow relatively, and it's gonna look like this. So to turn this on highlight, you can do Shift H, or you can go up to here where it has the two-tone kind of thing, and it will turn it on and off. But I like to also go back and forth with the highlight and no highlight, so I can see it with the whole image to make sure that it's also cohesive to the image, to the highlights, and to the shadows of the grade itself. Next, we're gonna render that. We're gonna skip the cues real quick, and we're gonna do some grads. This is actually gonna be our grad. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go over here to the windows. We're gonna do a gradient, because that's what a grad is. And Shift H, and do that. So I want to make sure that the highlights are similar. Can go to parade for this. That should be almost similar. Look at that. It's pretty similar. Then we're gonna add another one. And I'm gonna do the shadows of the image. H. Bring this out just to see how far. Kind of want to do it at an angle, so it's also getting the bottom a bit. And the shadows, I'm gonna use my gamma and do sort of like a sign. If you bring it all the way down, you can see it's like picking up over here. Watch this. You see? I'm gonna relatively go down, and then my shadows as well. Not too much. And then I'm gonna bring down my gamma. It's looking beautiful. And then, honestly, I'm gonna add some blur to this. So I'm gonna go to radius and just drop, go up once. And it should pretty much blur everything here. And then this one, I want to do a vignette strictly on him. I think that would be a really nice touch. I'm gonna go like this. Circle. And then we're gonna do pretty soft. We're gonna bring the gain up a bit, and it should look something like this. Okay, so I'll name this spot since it's on him. I just want to dilute this yellow a bit. So I'm going to use qualifier for this. I'm going to try to dilute this a bit because I just don't like how overpowering it is. I'm going to use the pen tool and just kind of draw around this. Now we see exactly what we're being grabbed. Now we're gonna go to qualifier and do this. And it's pretty tedious, but you know what? We can handle this. Right? And then I'm just gonna slightly the color boost like this. And if you want, you can use hue to even change it up, but we're not gonna do it because I want to keep the yellow. But we're just bringing down the saturation. Instead of using saturation, I like to use color boost because, as you can tell, that's what it can do. And then obviously you can see this. So we're gonna go back and just move everything and then track it. How to view it without the window, we're gonna go over here, turn off, and before, after, before, after. Let's conjoin these. So I'm gonna highlight, I'm gonna click compound. This is gonna be cues. Do the same with this, concrete compound. This is going to be windows. Then we're going to do another one, and this is going to be HDR. So we're going to work with HDR. As scary as it sounds, it's really actually pretty simple. I'm going to sort of bring it up, not too much, and then we're going to use the color. Okay, I want to get it relatively similar. That's about the color. Okay, the mid-tones, this is the shadows. You see, I'm trying to move it so you guys can see, and it's pretty harsh, so I'm gonna bring it down, and then you see, like, this is how crazy if you go to extreme. We want to be right about, like, in between right here, okay? You want that cyan green shadows, because that's what we're gonna go for. So I'm just gonna bring down just a little bit, and it's gonna look like that. This is what we're working with so far. That, obviously it's gonna look a little bit different because of the color of jackets and scenery, but I think this is pretty nice. So we've got our CDL, curves, qualifiers, windows, and then HDR. Although this does have a little bit of film, so we're gonna do some film gray, and let's like this. We're gonna, that's right here. Drag and drop. I'm not gonna use dehancer for this. I'm just gonna do this because, again, not all of you might have dehancers, so I want to show you how you would do it with the actual DaVinci film grain. So this is what the grain is. The more texture, the less texture. I like to have it about 558, and then grain size is the actual size. You can bring it up actually big if you want. Grain strength. How harsh do you want it? I don't like it too pronounced, so I keep it at like mid 200, 250. Softness, I like to have it a little soft. Opacities to view it. Again, I'd like to do it about, so I'm gonna keep it about like 400. And that is how we get this. That is with the grade of Dunkirk. That concludes today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment them, and I will do my best to answer you all. And also keep an eye out for a new episode 5 of Let's Talk Film. I have a few things to be talking about in that video, so I'm really excited about that. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and bye guys!